I bought my very first laser cutter back in 2020, and within a week I was disappointed. And the reason for that is for some weird reason, I thought a laser cutter could also print in color. That was wrong. I quickly found out what really I needed was a CMYK plus white UV printer and also a laser cutter, because unfortunately those two machines combined into one doesn't even exist. So for the last 5+ years, I have been on the hunt for the best of the best UV printer that is affordable. Now, if you've seen my previous videos in the last few weeks, you do know I got the brand new EufyMake UV printer. This pretty little thing right here. Now, the reason why I have fallen in love with this UV printer, and there's two reasons. The very first reason and the most important reason is if you've done any type of research on a traditional UV printer, the minimum cost of a brand new UV printer is $20,000. The second thing to that is the footprint to these traditionally are huge. I don't have space for that in my current craft room. So the EufyMake UV printer is affordable, less than $3,000, and it is a small footprint, which is amazing. Now, in my craft room, I have a laser cutter. I also have a UV printer. So I'm gonna be able to marry these two pieces of equipment together to create some really cool items. And you're probably asking yourself, if you've never heard of a UV printer mixing in with a laser cutter, what really cool items are you talking about, Ashley? Well, the original reason why I wanted a UV printer paired up with my laser cutter is back in the day when I first got my very first laser, I was in the Etsy selling business and I was making and selling handmade party decorations, wedding decor, and all things like that. Acrylic cutout and printed wedding invitations are huge. Thought I could do it with my laser cutter, but again, can't because you need the UV printer. So I always wanted a UV printer so I could make things for weddings. This right here, I cut out with the acrylic, I cut out with my xTool P2S, and then took it over to my UV printer to print on this. The back side is my wedding photo. The front just has like a little memento right here. Yep, printed all of this, cut and printed it all within my craft room, never having to leave. Also, just to test it out, because I was asked, can you print on any acrylic? Glitter acrylic, white acrylic, black acrylic, how about mirror acrylic? Can you do that? Yes, you can, because I cut this out on my xTool P2S, which is a CO2 laser. Then I took it over to my UV printer and I printed this right here. This right here is just white on top of the mirror gold acrylic. Turned out fabulously. But you don't have to just stay within the wedding sector, okay? My husband's birthday is coming up and I love to make him feel special on his birthday. So I decided to make him some cake toppers. And it's a silly theme this year. It is going to be a party animal theme. I cut these out with my xTool P2S, the acrylic. I cut the acrylic out on my xTool P2S. Then I took my pieces of cut acrylic and I took them over to my UV printer, laid them down, and printed a double-sided print of these cute party animal acrylic cake toppers. Look at this giraffe. The giraffe is my favorite, by the way. But got a giraffe, got a cow, a leopard, a piggy pig, a chicken, and then also a cute little frog. Now, do you have to do just cutouts? You absolutely do not need to do cutouts. Think of like patterned cardstock. When you go into the craft store and you see all these really pretty patterns of cardstock, you can custom print your own acrylic or even wood using the UV printer. You would print on the wood or the acrylic, then you would take it over here and you could cut it out any way you want. Pretty cool, right? And I bet you are shouting into your screen right now, this is going to be probably one of the most complicated things that Ashley Falco tries to teach me. And I'm gonna tell you right now, it actually is not. And I keep saying that every single time I post a video about the EufyMake UV printer. And I also say the same thing whenever I do a laser project with my xTool P2S. But I promise you, it is not difficult. Today, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you how we are gonna make something really cool combining our two machines, the xTool P2S and the EufyMake printer. I'm going to be using technically 3 softwares today, one for designing, and I'm going to split them off into the EufyMake software and then also the xTool software. We're only going to utilize those two softwares though, just to print and cut. We're not going to have to do much of anything else. I swear, it sounds so complicated, but it's not. I promise you, this is not a hard project at all. The program, the main program that I'm going to be using is a free program called Inkscape. You're going to be able to set up in this one free program your print and also your cut. And then you're going to be able to save them in two different formats to then split off into the two different softwares. I swear it's easy. And if I lose you along the way, just let me know. Just let me know in the comments if I lose you, because I don't want to. I want to demonstrate how easy it is to utilize both of these machines into one, because I can tell you right now, this girl's dreams for the last 5+ years has finally come true, because it's actually really easy to combine these two machines, although they're different brands, combine the two machines to create beautiful works of art. Let's go. So the very first thing you have to do is determine what it is that you're printing. I am over here at Creative Fabrica, which is my most favorite place to find anything image related. And I'm going to download these right here because flowers are really in right now. It's springtime. You know what I mean? I think I'm going to create a whole bunch of these different types of flower cutouts. So I'm just going to press download. You can download any type of PNG file. I also have a picture that I am going to use of my kids in their graduation, just so I can also do a cutout of that as well. So if you're not interested in doing cute little flowers, grab yourself a picture of whoever you want to print and already have the background removed, okay? Then what you want to do is head over into Inkscape. This is the Inkscape program. If you've never used Inkscape before, I love Inkscape. It is 100% free, and I have a ton of tutorials on how to use Inkscape. Okay, the very first thing we need to do is find the PNG file that we want to cut out on our xTool P2S and then also print on our EufyMake UV printer. So I am going to open up the flowers PNG file, and I am going to find, I love cherry blossoms, so I'm going to drag in a cherry blossom, and I am just going to press OK. I don't even read anything on this box. I just press OK. Okay, now that I have this one, I'm just going to do one with you today. We have this one right here. I am also going to go back into my downloads folder, and I'm going to drag and drop my family picture that I want to cut out. Then I'm going to press OK. So for each of these images that we have dropped into Inkscape, they are printable files. There's no cut lines for this. So I'm going to click on the cherry blossom, and I'm going to come over here into this little thing that says Trace Bitmap. If you don't have this box right here, what you can do is right click on your image, and right here it says Trace Bitmap. That's what you want. Okay, this right here is your live preview over here on the right. If you were to keep it like this, this is what your final cutout is going to look like, which you don't want. You want it to look something like this over here on the left. So what I do is I come over here and I just drag this all the way up, or you could just come over here and use the decimal point, 0.99. So what you see here is the entire outline of this picture, right? All you want to do is press apply. Now it will look like your original image just disappeared. What you can do is we can click on it and press Command D, which is duplicate, and then drag it down. Now technically it's right there, okay? But for resizing purposes later, what I want you to do is leave it just like this for right now, okay? Now for this one, we want to click on it. It's going to automatically pop up. Your entire image is right there. You just want to press apply. Now with this one in particular, we don't have to have a duplicated picture over here on the left, okay? The reason why we are keeping a duplicated one for right here is when we click on this, do you see the actual box to our PNG file is huge? We need it to be like this, where it hugs our actual flower. With our picture, do you see how it hugs the entire picture? This is perfect because when we save this and then upload them into the EufyMake software or into the xTool creative space, it always gets resized. And so we need to make sure that we have perfect sizing for our finished elements, okay? Now what we need to do is with this picture is we can just drag it down here, okay? This is going to be our print. This is going to be our cut. All right, now what we need to do is selecting this right here is we need to release all the compounds, because if we zoom in, you're gonna see all these like little cutouts here. We don't want that. We don't want that, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna select this. Now I'm gonna do Command-Shift-K, and that's just releasing all the compounds. If you don't wanna use your keyboard shortcuts, what you need to do is by clicking on the black, we're gonna come up here to Path, and you're gonna do Break Apart. This one right here, okay? I am just going to press Command-Shift-K just to get rid of everything. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select all those small little pieces, and I'm just gonna delete them because I don't need them in this one, all right? Now what we need to do is selecting both pieces, the black thing that's right here and also our printed image, okay? Both pieces. And we're gonna come up here to Object, Clip, Set Clip. Okay, now when we did that, do you see how our original image, when we had the dotted line, it was super large, right? Now we have it where it is hugging our image. That's exactly what we wanted. Now that step that we just did, you don't have to do that for every single image. We obviously didn't need to do it over here. That step was really just for if your dotted line was like not hugging your image, then we had to make sure that it's hugging it because, again, resizing issues. Going down here, now there are some options that you could customize this a little bit more. So for the left one, do you see how we have like extra cutouts here? Like this is gonna get cut out, these are gonna get cut out. If you wanted to get rid of them, you could release all the compounds again, just like what we did before, which is Command-Shift-K, and you can delete the stuff you don't want. Okay, I think that looks great. And then with this one, if you wanted to edit for customizations, you totally could. So the last and final thing, and it's gonna be easier if I just show it to you versus explaining it, is if you wanted to create some sort of offset. So this is going to be like a perfect example. It's going to be hard to see because it is printed on clear acrylic. But do you see how my image that is printed is like inside the actual cut line, okay? That is by design. I didn't mess up here. So just like here at the bottom too, where you can see my clear acrylic is larger than my actual print. Again, that's by design. The reason why I've created that is because in the whiskers of this particular cake topper, this right here would be an absolute nightmare to have to cut out on my laser cutter. So I created a bit of an offset for every single one of my cake toppers. Now, because again, I am printing on clear, you probably aren't going to be able to see it. You know, in the finished and grand scheme of things, you can't see it. The reason why I chose to do it, not only for this is because wouldn't it suck to not have an offset and then you print these and you don't print them out, like your alignment is not perfect, and then you get like a wonky print or a not finished print. Obviously, this portion wouldn't be that important if you were like just printing a pattern, but if you're trying to line up your cutouts to your UV print, probably having an offset would be a really smart idea, because then that just gives you a little bit of a buffer. So for me, I am going to play it safe and I'm going to create a little buffer or a offset. So with my cut lines, only the cut ones, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create that offset. So if you're doing your keyboard shortcuts, you're going to want to press Command-Shift and 0. What happens is you're now creating an offset, okay? If you don't want to use your keyboard shortcuts, what you need to do is come up here into Path, and then you want to do this one right here, Outset, okay? Now, you want to keep making it larger until you're happy with your final results. Doing the same thing with my next one, I'm going to just make it larger, until I'm happy with my final results. Okay, now at this point, what you want to do is resize your project, okay? We're gonna resize it all together. So I'm gonna select both of my cut pieces right here, and we are gonna align this to the center. Doing the same with these two right here. We are gonna align these to the center. Now I think in inches, so I'm gonna switch this over into inches. And I want this final one to be 7 inches. So I'm gonna change that to 7. And this one, let's just do an even 9 inches. Now what you want to do is select both of your cut pieces, and we are just going to drag this down right here. Now at this point, we are done, okay? What I want to do personally is I want to cut these out on my xTool P2S before we go and print this out on the EufyMake UV printer. So what I'm going to do is selecting this right here, just the things that we are going to cut, okay? Then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to press export. If you don't have that button, you can also go to file and then press the export button, okay? It will probably go to this one right here. You want to come over here into selection. We just only selected the things that we want to cut out, all right? Now what I want you to do is come down here into the export directory, and you are going to select where you want to save this. I'm just going to put this on my desktop. I'm going to rename this, and then I'm going to change this over from a PNG file to a plain SVG file. And I'm just going to press save. Now what we're going to do is we are going to open xTool's Creative Space. You can see that I've already been working on my acrylic cutouts with this as the party animals. But let's, just for the sake of not confusing you, I am going to open up a new window in xTool's Creative Space. So this is what this looks like when you first log in. You're just going to come over here and press new project. Okay, when it's finally loaded in, what you need to do is find that SVG file that we created, drag and drop it into xTool's Creative Space. Now what we need to do is make sure that our cutouts that we sized in Inkscape is still the size that it needs to be. Back into Inkscape, when we click on this, it's 9 inches by 5.5 inches. Clicking on my picture, it's 7 inches by 4 inches. Back in xTool's Creative Space, this is 7 inches by 4 inches. So it's perfectly fine, okay? We are going to select both of the pieces that we are going to cut out, and I'm going to press cut. I am going to be using clear acrylic for this project. So I'm just going to come up here into unknown material, and I'm going to click on one of the acrylic material settings that are right here. And then we're just going to press confirm. Now what we have to do after the xTool is set up is turn on our xTool. I'm going to be using the xTool P2S for this. Then what you have to do is put in your material into your xTool. Remember, I'm using clear acrylic for this project. I got a brand new sheet right here, and all you have to do is just drop this into your machine, and then we're going to close the lid. Now let's go back over to the software and get these things cut. Okay, over at the software, what you want to do is make sure your machine is connected. Now for the very first time, the machine is going to do an auto capture. This is the live preview. That is what is inside my laser cutter. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an aimed measure. I strongly suggest for good crispy cuts that we always do an aimed measure. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this over, and I'm going to try and conserve on material. Now we have already set up all of our cutting parameters, so all you have to do is press process and then press start. This machine is going to take about 3 minutes and 24 seconds to cut out. Now you want to make sure that either you're venting out of a window or you have your air filter turned on. I am using my air filter for today's project. Then when that's done, you just want to press this button, and you're going to let the machine do its cuts. All right, now that it's done cutting, all we need to do is open the lid and take out your cuts. Okay, when it comes to printing on acrylic, you could do it one or two ways. You can choose to print on the front just like I have done here. When you do it on the front though, you are gonna have like a raised edge, okay? The look is going to be a little different when you print on the top versus if you print on the back of it, okay? This right here is printed. Technically it's a two-sided print because I printed CMYK white and then CMYK. I know, I just confused you, but just hold on with me, okay? The reason why I did CMYK white and CMYK is that from the back and then also the front, it's a two-sided print. But the finish here is, let me show you it between these two just because there's more square footage here, is that let's go like this, okay? This right here is going to be technically your front. And the reason for that is do you see that shine that is on the acrylic? That acrylic is the shine. I got a window right here and it's like bouncing off, okay? But you are gonna get this like nice, bright, crispy little thing, okay? If we were to print on the front, this is what it's going to look like. And it kind of has this matte-like finish. Not terrible. It's not a terrible look between the two. I guess it's all about preference, like what it is. What do you prefer? Do you prefer it like this, where it's printed on the back so you can see the shine through the front, or like this? Again, there's no right or wrong answer here. It's just how you prefer it. So if you want to print on the back, what I need you to do is print the masking tape off the back of your acrylic. I'm just gonna be using my handy dandy weeding tool pick, my favorite little tools ever, and we're just gonna weed off the masking tape. I would say only on one side. Don't peel off both sides when we are going to the next step, which is UV printing. We will peel off the other side of the masking tape when we're done printing. This is going to help you, one, make sure that we have good alignment, because if you're printing on clear, how in the world are you going to see where you're putting it because it's clear? Second, when we set this on our machine bed, the UV printer bed, the UV printer bed's dirty. You don't want to dirty up your print already before you actually get to see the cool finished product. So you just want to keep it from getting messed up. So we are going to put this side, the peeled portion, we are going to put this in our bed like this, down onto our bed with the peeled masking tape up. I'll show you here in a second. Same thing with the picture that I cut out that I want to print on. I want to print on the back side. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to peel the back side of the masking tape. All right, now what we need to do is come over here to the UV printer. And what you're going to do is you're going to put masking side down. I am using my large flatbed printer for this. All right, this is here. Now let's go back to the computer. What is go back over into Inkscape. This time what you're going to do is select the two pieces that we have that we want to print. Now instead of doing an SVG file, what I want you to do is click down here on the plain SVG, and you could, because the EufyMake Studio, when you upload images, you could do PNG, JPEG, SVG, web, you could do all these different types of things. I personally did the web one when I printed last time and it worked just fine. So I'm going to do this web one, and then I'm just going to press export. All right, when it's done exporting, what you need to do is go into the EufyMake Studio. This right here is the home screen for EufyMake, okay? Then what you want to do is you can open up a new canvas. You can press this little plus sign right here or come over here into new design. I already have this one brought up, so that's what I'm going to use. Then what we need to do is find that image that we just saved, which is this one right here, and we're going to drag and drop it into the EufyMake Print Studio. Now what we need to do is make sure that this is resized to the size that we need. Just like with the xTool Creative Space, we need to make sure that everything is going to matchy-matchy. So going over into the, before we go, the EufyMake Studio runs off of millimeters for their dimensions, so just keep that in mind, because we're needing to come over here into Inkscape, select our two prints, and we need to change this over from inches to millimeter. Now what we need to do is make sure that we have the correct size, okay? So over here on Inkscape, we have 226.552 in the height. So we need to come over here and we need to change the height over to 226.552, just like over an Inkscape, right? It's the same height. Now what we need to do is we need to make these two separate items, okay? So because we have two things, what we need to do is copy and paste. You could have saved this all as individual files, but you know, that's more work. So I have two pictures I need to print, so I need two different copies. We're gonna double click, and I am going to make a box around just the cherry blossom, and I'm gonna click out of it. Now I'm gonna come over here, I'm gonna double click, and I'm gonna make a box just around my picture. When I'm done doing that, I'm gonna click out of it, okay? Now what I need you to do is create a snapshot, a live preview of what is in our machine. All you have to do is make sure you are set and clicked on your actual bed that you're on. I'm using the standard one, so we're gonna click the standard, and then we're just gonna press snapshot. Now what the machine is doing is essentially taking a live preview snapshot of what is in my bed. It's doing a height reading, it is doing like a camera reading, so we are gonna be able to properly align our cutouts onto, or our photos onto our cutouts, because this thing has multiple cameras. Plus it'll have the perfect measurement for the height, so we will get the best, crispiest prints ever. All right, now here is something that is extremely important when we do this. If you are printing on the back side of your acrylic, just like me, if I were to take this and try and put this here, it is not going to line up no matter how we try, because I am technically over here on the right, okay? So if you're printing on the back side of whatever one that you are, what I want you to do is now selecting the things that we're printing, right click and press flip horizontal. Okay, now I am going to be over here and everything is going to line up perfectly just like that. And this one right here should line up. Oh, I did it straight and it needed to be curved. So now what we're going to do is we're going to zoom in, and I am going to just rotate this a little bit so it will fit onto my acrylic cutout. Okay, now when you have them lined up the way you want them, what you need to do is come over here and press print. At this point, what you need to do is you do not need to press a snapshot because we've already did the snapshot. We're going to come over here into materials, and instead of doing custom, I am printing on acrylic, so I'm going to do acrylic. Now this is where those like settings, the ink mode settings kind of come into play. Remember how I said I did a CMYK plus white, then CMYK. That is so I can have a double-sided print just like this pig. All right, now when it came to my wedding photo, okay, we're only going to look at the photo and not this that's right here. I only printed this CMYK and then white. So on the back it kind of has this like frosted-ish look. That's because there's not another layer of color over the top of this. All right, here is the deal. If you are printing on the back side of your acrylic, what you need to do is make sure and select the CMYK first and then do the white. Because traditionally when it comes to this UV printer, what it will tell you to do is what it's on the ink mode right now, is that it wants to lay down a layer of white first and then the color on top. If you were to do that and we're printing on the back side, what you would end up getting is something that looks like this, where the white is on the back and then the color is on the front, but then it's no longer going to be see-through like this, if that makes sense. Trust the process. So at the software, when you see ink mode and then you click on it and you have all of these options, whatever is the first thing that pops up here, the very first thing, that is going to be your very first thing that gets printed onto your surface or your substrate, your blank, okay? Because I'm printing on the back, I do not want white to be laid down first. I want CMYK to be laid down first. If we were to go to this one, what happens is you only get the CMYK. So if we're printing on clear acrylic, it'll be essentially see-through. Gloss varnish is just going to be glossy. White is only going to be white. CMYK plus white. So what's going to lay down first is the CMYK. The second is going to be white. Now, if you wanted a double-sided print, like I did with the animal cake toppers, what you need to do is click this one. The CMYK is going to be printed first, then a layer of white, then a layer of CMYK. I'll keep it at standard, and then I'm just going to press print. The machine is going to send over the file to my UV printer. And just like with every other UV print that we have printed with this UV printer, all you need to do is, after you hear that cute little chimey noise, is you come over here and you press the happy button. That's the name I've given it. It's not the technical name, but when pressing the button, it makes me happy because the finished products end up being amazing. I wish they would rename that and then say Ashley Falco named it that. Okay, essentially all you got to do is wait for this to get done printing. All right, so the pieces are done, and before we get to do any type of final reveal to it, what we have to do is peel off the masking tape on the back side, because that's really where the magic is going to be shown. So what I'm going to do is take off one of my little cutouts, and I'm going to peel the masking tape off. I should cut out like a little block and make a little stand off of this, just so then it can stand up like on my bookshelf in my living room. Okay, but until then, this is what the finished piece is going to look like. This is the front side where you have that glossy finish, and then we decided to do the print on both sides. So CMYK white, CMYK. So this is the front side, and then this is the back side. So it kind of has like a matte look to it, versus this side has a finished look to it. It's just glossy and looks great. Turned out so good, so good. Also, I don't know if you're gonna be able to tell, but like in my son's pants, there's some texture in that. And then all in his, like in his money lay that he has right here, there's like texture on. You can kind of feel it, which is really cool. Okay, then we have this one, the cherry blossom. Here is the cherry blossom before I do any type of peeling on the masking tape. You can also see that there is no like residual paint here. Obviously there was here from a previous print, but on where we are actually printing today, there's no residual paint. That means that I lined these up perfectly, did a really good job. And that was only because I had those cameras inside this bed. Otherwise that would have not been possible. Now you do want to be careful when you're peeling masking tape off of acrylic, or I guess just handling acrylic, because acrylic is very fragile. It's actually one of the most fragile items that you can cut with your laser cutter. But I'm going to peel this all the way off. Fun fact, cherry blossoms was actually my wedding flower. All of my flowers were cherry blossoms in my wedding. But all right, here we go. And here is what the finished cherry blossom looks like. So this is going to be the front. Remember, that has that gloss look with the acrylic. It's going to be harder to see because there's smaller cutouts, but this is the front, and then everything is printed on the back side. So you're going to get a matte finish on the back and then glossy on the front. Turned out so good, right? Possibilities are endless with this printer. And when we have the laser cutter and the printer as a combo set, for sure, the possibilities are endless now. At this point in time, I have videos of me unboxing this UV printer, of me creating stickers with you with this UV printer, of me doing 3D textured artwork with this UV printer. I have now also taught you how to use the rotary attachment tool with this UV printer, and then also pairing it up with my other favorite machine, my xTool P2S. So at this point in time, what else should I create with this UV printer? Or should I be doing more of the combo duo? You let me know in the comments of this video. I sure hope I inspired you to create, and I'll see you on the next one.